Chosen one, this message didn't find you by chance. This is divine timing. God led you here for a reason. You've been walking through life wondering why you feel so different, why you've always felt unseen or misunderstood. But now the mask is off. The truth is out. They just found out who you really are, and now they're terrified, because your light exposes their darkness. Your presence disrupts their comfort. Your truth shakes their lies. And the same people who laughed at you, doubted you, dismissed you are now starting to panic. They never imagined the quiet one had such a loud purpose. They never thought the one they overlooked was heaven's secret weapon. You were hidden for a reason, not because you were weak, but because you were sacred. And now that you're being revealed, they can't handle the weight of your calling. Every step you take now sends ripples through the very ground they stand on. This is your confirmation. You're not who they thought you were. You never were. You're so much more. Let's break this down. Before we begin, take a moment to like, share, and subscribe, because this message is for the chosen ones whose true identity is being revealed and whose power can no longer be denied. If this message resonates with your spirit, drop the number 77 in the comments. It's not just a number, it's a signal to the universe that you've been exposed, elevated, and are stepping fully into who you were always meant to be. Only the truly chosen will stay until the end, and those who do will receive the clarity, confidence, and divine confirmation their soul has been seeking. Truth reveals itself layer by layer. So come back to this message whenever you need a reminder. Each time, more of your true power will rise to the surface. Let's begin. Chapter 1. They mistook your silence for weakness. For the longest time, they judged you based on what they could see, or rather, what they couldn't. You were quiet. You didn't boast. You didn't clap back. You didn't seek revenge. You didn't compete. And because of that, they assumed you had no fight in you. They thought your silence meant you had no voice, no backbone, no vision. They looked at your calmness and called it cowardice. They saw your patience and called it passivity. But what they didn't know is that your silence was never weakness. It was wisdom. It was strategy. It was divine alignment. You weren't ignoring the battles. You were being taught how to win without wasting energy. You weren't blind to the disrespect. You were being trained to rise above it. God didn't silence you because you were incapable. He silenced you because you were sacred. You were being kept away from people who wouldn't understand your power, people who would try to destroy you before you discovered what was truly inside of you. Every moment you stayed quiet wasn't wasted. It was preparation. It was spiritual conditioning. You were being refined in the shadows. They thought you were weak because you weren't loud, but strength doesn't always shout. Sometimes it sits still and lets the storm pass, knowing its roots are deep. You were rooted, grounded, and growing just out of sight. And that frightened them more than anything, because people fear what they can't understand, and they couldn't read you. They didn't know you were listening more than you were speaking, observing more than you were reacting, learning more than you were explaining, and healing more than you were defending. In your silence, God was teaching you things words could never capture. And now they're starting to notice a shift. You're not reacting the way you used to. You're walking differently. You're speaking with more authority. Your energy hits different. The glow that used to be hidden is starting to shine through, and it's undeniable. The same people who once laughed behind your back are now watching you from a distance with wide eyes. They're realizing that the quiet one, the one they underestimated, overlooked, and dismissed, is the one carrying divine fire. They're terrified because they realize you were never asleep. You were awakening. You weren't lost. You were aligning. And now that you're stepping into the fullness of who you are, your silence has turned into a roar they can't ignore. They're not just uncomfortable. They're afraid. Because now they see the truth. You were never weak. You were just waiting on God's timing. And that time is now. Chapter 2. Your growth exposed their stagnation. You outgrew the spaces they thought you'd be stuck in forever. You started healing, elevating, leveling up in silence. You began shedding layers of pain, releasing old versions of yourself, and stepping into alignment with your higher calling. And you did it without needing applause, validation, or a crowd cheering you on. You did it in the quiet hours behind closed doors when no one was watching, except God. Now that you're walking with clarity, confidence, and authority, it's shining a light on all the ways they've been stuck, complacent, and fake. Your growth is uncomfortable for them because it breaks the illusion they built an entire identity around, thinking they were above you, ahead of you, or somehow more put together than you. But now your evolution is speaking louder than their opinions ever did. You weren't supposed to get better. You were supposed to stay broken. You were supposed to keep seeking their approval, keep begging for their love, keep playing small so they could feel big. But something shifted. You realized your worth. You reclaimed your voice. You got up from the ground they left you on. And now you're walking like someone who knows they're chosen. You're no longer trying to fit into rooms that were never designed to hold your destiny. It's not that they hate your success. They hate what your success reminds them of, their own refusal to change. Not because you did anything wrong, but because your progress is a mirror to their lack of growth. It forces them to look inward, and that's something they've avoided for years. You were the one they pied, the one they gossiped about, the one they counted out. But now your elevation is exposing their excuses. They're scared, not of who you became, but of what it says about who they still are. Because if you could rise from everything you went through, then they have no excuse for still being stuck. Your life is proof that healing is possible, that transformation is real, and that terrifies people who would rather stay the same than face themselves. They pretended to cheer for you, but deep down they hoped you'd fall. Now that you're soaring, they don't know how to handle it. You're outgrowing their version of you, and they can't keep up with the new version that's walking in power and peace. You didn't just change your habits, you changed your frequency. You're vibrating higher now, and not everyone can go where you're going. Your growth didn't just change you, it changed the way they see themselves. And now, every time they look at you, they're reminded of the version of themselves they could have become, if only they'd done the work. You are no longer proof of pain. You are evidence of breakthrough. And that, chosen one, is why they're afraid, because your rise makes it impossible for them to keep pretending. Chapter 3. You're operating with divine protection. Chosen one, you're not walking alone. You never were. Even in your darkest moments, when it felt like no one was standing with you, heaven was surrounding you. You have divine backing. You carry a spiritual force that can't be seen by the natural eye, but it's deeply felt in your spirit. Every room you enter, angels are with you. Every path you walk, heaven clears the way before you arrive. Every attack thrown your way gets intercepted before it even reaches you. And they're starting to notice that no matter what they try, it just doesn't work on you. They tried to sabotage you, and you still rose. They whispered your name in slander, hoping it would ruin your reputation, but God raised your name in favor instead. They plotted behind closed doors, hoping to trap you, but those very traps became stepping stones. They threw dirt on your name, but didn't realize they were planting a seed. And now you're blooming in places they swore you'd never grow. Your rise is supernatural, and it's breaking the pattern they expected. You don't move like everyone else because you're not protected like everyone else. You are covered, shielded, guarded by the Most High. While others rely on connections, manipulation, or charm, your life is ordered by divine instruction. That's why doors open for you that others can't explain. That's why you recover from blows that would have destroyed someone else. That's why, even in the fire, you didn't burn. You were refined. They can't touch what God is protecting. They're terrified because they realize you're protected by something bigger than them. It's not just talent or luck, it's favor. It's spiritual covering, it's divine appointment. You walk with unseen forces that make things move in your favor. Even when you don't speak a word, you carry something that can't be bought, taught, or imitated, and they can feel it. Your peace amid chaos, your strength amid opposition, your calm in the storm, all signs of a divine shield, and that shield is unbreakable. They tried to study your steps, copy your moves, even imitate your energy, but nothing works, because the source of your strength is spiritual, not superficial. What they don't understand, they fear, and what they can't stop, they envy. That's why some of them are watching you with side eyes and fake smiles. Because deep down, they've realized they're up against something they can't control. You are operating on a level that's unreachable for many, and that scares them more than anything else. You weren't just protected from physical harm. You were shielded from emotional ruin, spiritual confusion, and soul-deep betrayal. Every time you were about to lose yourself, God stepped in. Every time someone tried to break your spirit, heaven blocked it. You are living proof that when God puts his hand on someone's life, no force in hell can remove it. Your protection is not temporary or conditional, it's eternal and unshakable. So walk boldly, speak freely, move forward without fear. You are divinely protected, not just for your sake, but for the purpose God placed inside of you, and no weapon formed against that purpose shall prosper. They can try, but they'll fail, not because you're perfect, but because you're chosen. Remember, the same God who protected David against Goliath is the same God protecting you today. Your victory is already written, and your enemies know it. That's why they're terrified. But you're just getting started. Your faith is your fortress. Your trust in God's plan is your armor. Even when storms rage around you, you remain unmoved, because you know who's holding your hand. This divine protection isn't a guarantee you won't face battles. It's the promise that you'll never face them alone. Stand firm in that truth, because it's the foundation of everything you are becoming. Chapter 4. They can't manipulate you anymore. Before, they had access to you. They could twist your words, play with your emotions, and control your choices like puppeteers pulling strings. They thrived on your uncertainty, feeding off your doubt and hesitation. They whispered lies so convincingly that you almost believed them. But now your discernment is sharper, your spirit is stronger. You're not falling for the same tricks anymore. You've learned to recognize the subtle shifts in energy, the hidden agendas behind sweet words, and the dangerous charm that once ensnared you. You see through the masks people wear, the fake smiles, the hidden motives, the covert manipulations. You feel energy before words are even spoken. You've developed an instinct, a gut sense that warns you when something isn't right. This new clarity allows you to protect your heart and guard your peace like never before. You've stopped people-pleasing, and you're no longer tolerating low vibrations or toxic behavior. You understand that your energy is sacred, and you refuse to waste it on those who don't deserve it. This scares them because your strength breaks their control. Your boundaries are a threat to their manipulation. Where they once moved you like a puppet on strings, now they find resistance. You don't bend or crumble under pressure. You don't respond to their emotional traps or mind games. And that shift has made them fearful of your freedom, the freedom you never truly had before. They're terrified that their power over you is gone, and with it, their ability to influence your life and choices. They see your independence as a challenge, a direct threat to the control they once had. Their tactics become more desperate, but you're too wise now to fall into old patterns. You're walking in sovereignty, claiming your space and saying no without guilt or hesitation. And every time you stand firm, it chips away at their power. They realize the old version of you, the one they manipulated and controlled, is gone forever. You've grown into someone who commands respect, who values authenticity over approval, and who protects their energy fiercely. Your freedom is your power, and it's a power they cannot take or diminish. They fear that you will never again be the person who could be swayed by their lies or pulled into their schemes. And that fear only fuels their panic, because the new you is unstoppable. This is more than just emotional strength. It's spiritual awakening. You're learning to discern not only people's words but the intentions behind them. You're developing a radar for deception, a shield against manipulation that's rooted in your connection to the divine. This spiritual armor means you're no longer vulnerable to the same attacks, and that makes them uneasy. The very tools they used to control you are now ineffective, leaving them scrambling to regain influence they will never get back. You're rewriting the narrative of your life, from one of control and confusion to one of empowerment and clarity. And with every boundary you set, you're reclaiming the power that was always meant to be yours. Your energy is no longer a playground for others' agendas. It's a fortress, guarded fiercely by your newfound wisdom and strength. This chapter is your reminder. You are no longer a victim of manipulation. You are a warrior of discernment. You walk with eyes wide open, heart guarded, and spirit unbreakable. The chains of control have been broken, and that's why they're terrified. You're free, and in your freedom, you find your true strength. Chapter 5. Your presence carries power. Look, it's not just how you look, it's how you carry yourself. There's an authority in your spirit now, a quiet confidence that can't be faked or ignored. When you walk into a room, energy shifts instantly. Conversations pause, eyes glance your way, and the atmosphere changes without anyone saying a word. People get nervous. Why? Because they're not dealing with the old version of you anymore. You've been refined by fire, shaped by trials and triumphs that have transformed your very core. You've been through storms that would have crushed others, yet you've come out wiser, deeper, and stronger. Those challenges weren't setbacks. They were the forge that built your resilience. Every struggle you faced added layers of depth to your character and strength to your spirit. You carry the weight of that experience with grace, and it radiates from you like an undeniable force. You no longer react out of fear or doubt, but respond with calm assurance and clarity. This maturity draws respect and even awe from those around you. You no longer shrink yourself to make others comfortable. You don't dim your light to avoid outshining anyone. You don't apologize for taking up space or speaking your truth. This shift intimidates those who once built their confidence off your silence and submission. The very people who used to look down on you now find themselves unsettled by your presence. Their dismissive smirks have faded into cautious glances because they're realizing the weight of your worth. They expected the old you, the one who could be pushed around or silenced. But now they face a new reality. Your presence now demands respect, not through loudness or aggression, but through the quiet power of authenticity and integrity. You walk with a purpose that commands attention, and you carry a peace that unsettles chaos. People feel it when you enter the room, a kind of energy that says, "I've been through the fire and I'm still standing. I'm not here to play small." Your aura exudes strength and self-possession, making it clear that you belong and that you're here to stay. This power is magnetic. It draws the right people in and pushes the wrong ones away. It breaks down walls of judgment and builds bridges of genuine connection. You don't have to prove your value with words because your presence says it all. You are a force to be reckoned with, and that realization terrifies those who once thought you were weak or insignificant. They can no longer dismiss or ignore you because your energy fills the space with undeniable authority. They can't hide their fear anymore because your light exposes the shadows they wanted to keep hidden. Your growth, your strength, and your unshakable confidence are all reminders that you are no longer who you used to be. You are becoming the leader, the warrior, the chosen one that many doubted. But God always knew you would be. They're terrified because your presence makes it impossible for them to keep pretending, hiding, or controlling. You've stepped into a new level of power, one that can't be shaken by their judgments or attempts to diminish you. So stand tall, walk boldly, and carry yourself with the dignity that comes from overcoming. Your presence is your power, and it's changing everything. Those who once underestimated you are now learning to respect the force you've become. This is your moment. Own it. Let your power fill the room, shake the foundations of doubt, and remind the world that you are the chosen one, unstoppable, unbreakable, and undeniable. Chapter 6. They realized you're the one they should have never crossed. They didn't know who they were messing with back then. They thought they were just hurting some random person, someone small, insignificant, easy to break or control. But now the truth is sinking in deep, and it's terrifying for them. You're not just anyone. You're chosen. You're anointed. You carry a purpose and a power that they could never understand. Everything they did to try and break you, every cruel word, every betrayal, every act of betrayal, it's all coming back to haunt them. God saw it all. Every secret attack, every hidden insult, every moment they tried to dim your light or stop your progress. And now he's flipping the script. The tables have turned in ways they never expected. Their attempts to break you only fueled your rise. Their efforts to silence you only strengthened your voice. Their actions intended to harm you have become the very catalysts for your blessings. They're terrified because they know what they did, and they know the consequences aren't coming from you. The real reckoning is coming from the one who sent you. You are not walking this path alone. You have divine backing, and the one who anointed you is not blind to injustice. The guilt gnaws at them because they realize they've crossed a line that cannot be uncrossed. They messed with someone who carries a divine assignment, and now they must face the reality that their actions have consequences far beyond their control. They planted seeds of pain, but you are harvesting favor, purpose, and power. What they intended for harm has been transformed into your greatest strength. Every betrayal has become a stepping stone toward your destiny. Every tear has watered the ground for your growth. And now, as you rise, they watch helplessly, knowing they are powerless to stop the blessings that flow toward you. They know they can't undo what they did. No apology, no excuse, no amount of regret can erase the damage or reverse the outcome. The weight of their actions hangs heavy on their conscience, eating them alive with fear and regret. They realize they should have never underestimated you, never underestimated the power behind your journey. The fear they feel is the fear of the inevitable, that your rise is unstoppable, that your victory is assured, and that they will always live with the knowledge that they crossed someone they should have honored instead. This chapter is your reminder that their fear is your confirmation. Their terror is the evidence of your transformation and divine protection. You were never just a target or a victim. You were a chosen warrior, a light-bearer, and a soul with a mission. They realize this now, but it's too late. You've already stepped into the fullness of your power, and nothing they do can change that. So hold your head high and walk boldly. You are the living proof that God's plan cannot be thwarted by human cruelty or jealousy. You are the chosen one, anointed, empowered, and unstoppable. And those who crossed you will forever remember the day they realized who you really are. Chapter 7. You're not going back, and that's what scares them most. You've changed, you've evolved, and there's no going back to the old version of you, the person who doubted herself, who tried to fit in, who tolerated less than she deserved. That version no longer exists. You're no longer accessible to the ones who drained you, who took advantage of your kindness, or who dismissed your worth. You've set boundaries that protect your peace, and you're no longer available for small talk, small minds, and small dreams. You've stepped fully into your calling, embracing the identity that was always meant for you. You've accepted your worth and your power, and you're walking boldly on the path God prepared. You've outgrown the cage of limitation, and you refuse to shrink yourself to make others comfortable. The scariest thing for them? You're not coming back to the box they built for you, the box of doubt, fear, and limitation. You've broken free, and your freedom terrifies them. They don't fear your past struggles or your moments of weakness. Those were never what defined you. What they truly fear is your future. Your future is bright. It's filled with divine promise, unshakable purpose, and unstoppable momentum. It's bigger than anything they ever imagined, bigger than their doubts or attempts to hold you down. They've seen a glimpse of who you really are, and that glimpse is enough to make them panic. They're terrified, not because you're dangerous or vengeful, but because you're unstoppable. You carry a power and presence that cannot be contained or controlled. You are moving forward with clarity, confidence, and divine favor. Your light is shining so brightly that it exposes the cracks in their own shadows. They realize they can no longer influence your story or limit your potential. This chapter is your victory lap. It's proof that your transformation is permanent and irreversible. You've shed the old skin, risen above the noise, and embraced your true self. No matter what they say or do, you're marching toward your destiny, a destiny filled with purpose, joy, and fulfillment. So stand firm. Keep moving forward. Let them be scared, because you're not going back, and that's exactly how it should be. You're the chosen one, destined for greatness, protected by divine power, and unstoppable in your rise. The fear they feel is the fear of your inevitable breakthrough. And you're just getting started. They may try to whisper behind your back or question your every move, but their noise no longer reaches your spirit. You've built a fortress around your soul, and only truth and love can enter now. Remember, the more afraid they become, the clearer it is that you're stepping into the greatness you were always meant to claim.